Welcome back to the Owl Arcade. We find ourselves here on this Saturday with a glowing orb of fire in the sky, raining warmth down upon us. So we've opened up the garage doors to blow some of that cold out and work on our latest pickup, which is a Pac-Man. Yes, that's right. No sooner have we made progress with our Ms. Pac-Man. You can follow the progress on the restoration project there at the following link. But this little gem fell into our lap, almost quite literally. The network tipped me off that there was a machine going for free. Not far from me, about an hour's drive away. But the owner at the time was basically saying that they were looking at turning this into a bar and kind of gave up on it, and they were basically just going to landfill it instead. Which is crazy, I know. Look at the condition of the artwork on the side here. It's not too bad at all. This is still wrapped in the cellophane, so I zipped straight out. It was cold as heck. I zipped straight out, wrapped this thing up, threw it on the truck, brought it back, and just shoved it in the garage until a day such as today, when I could get out here and start cleaning it out, because this was a barn find. So if I show you in the back here, it's actually full of horrible stuff in there. I don't know if we can see that. I'm going to pull this cellophane off here in a second. But as far as I could tell, this thing is actually complete. It was missing the back panel, so we're going to have to fabricate a replacement back panel for it. The monitor was in there. It was loose, so I pulled that out. The game board was in there. It was loose. It was just laying in there, so I pulled that out. As far as I can tell, this is actually complete with the exception of the back panel, the bezel, and the marquee. And it's filthy, of course. Really, what I'm going to do with this today is get this plastic wrap off and just give everything a really good clean. We're going to test the monitor, and hopefully, if we can get this all connected back up, we're going to plug it in and do some voltage checks on the power board and see if it's safe for us to try and turn this thing on and see if it actually works. Now, as I was wrapping this thing up, looking on the inside, I found this little baggie which has actually got some leg levelers in there. There's only 3 of them, so I'm going to go careful pulling all of the leaf litter and debris out of the inside here, and see if I can find leg number 4. But these actually look new, and I did try screwing one of these in when the machine was on the back of the truck, but it seems to me that the threads have gotten a little bit rusty. These were not screwing in particularly well, so I'm probably going to get a tap and run that up and clean the threads out, and then see if we can't get these, again, what appear to be brand new leg levelers on the bottom of this machine as well. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and get this plastic wrap pulled off here. I will give you a little bit of a peek on the inside. You can see how filthy dirty it is once I've gotten that off, and then we're just going to go ahead and start getting this thing cleaned up. So here we are, plastic off, and in hindsight, I maybe should have poked a hole in the back to at least get some air in there, because whew, it smells like the great outdoors in here. It's really pretty nasty. And as you can see, we've got quite a lot of leaf litter hanging around in here. There's probably some other goodies waiting in here to surprise us as well. So I'm actually going to put a glove on and start pulling some of this out by hand, so I don't inadvertently suck anything up with a vacuum that I will then later have to retrieve. I think you saw before I unwrapped it that one of these bulbs was in here very loosely, and that kind of got thrown around a little bit and smashed. So I've tidied that up. I'm going to take this out because this is also loose, and we're going to throw that away because we won't be using these in the future. So now I'm going to spin this around, get her a little bit closer to the vac, and spend some time and some elbow grease cleaning this up. We'll come back and show you the results here momentarily. So let's get cracking. Well, while this is looking a darn sight better inside here, I've got some really bad news. What is this? Yeah, this cabinet either has presently or has had termites. That's pretty bad news, and I am therefore going to take extreme action because we're not messing around with this. Okay, I've pulled it around the back of the house because I don't want to do anything more to this with it inside the garage or anywhere close to the house. And what we're going to do is drop one of these here foggers in it. Now I know the professional advice is that these don't do anything because the termites like to bury into the wood, and these aerosols don't penetrate through into the wood, but this is going to be a starting point. I also bought some foaming spray and I'm going to give that a go after we've done the fogging. So to start with, I've wrapped this in plastic, left a little opening at the bottom. I'm going to crack this bad boy, pop it in there, and then I am going to wheel this out underneath the deck because only today am I having nice weather. I've got snow and rain coming in here for the next few days, so I'd like this to be protected somewhat underneath the deck, still outside, so this can work its magic. So let's get this cracked, popped in there, the rest of that wrapped, and then we're going to scoot it underneath the deck. I will also point out that before I wrapped it, I pulled the coin door off because I'm going to clean this up, and I'm actually going to use this temporarily in my Ms. Pac-Man. This strange beardy man has removed the plastic cap and is wrestling with the safety tab that you need to remove before you give it a little bit of a shake, and then press down hard and it goes crack, and then it starts to issue its contents out. So we dropped it in there real quick, grab the plastic wrap, give it a couple turns just to seal it in there, and we're good to go. Whew. Well, looks like it's dumped the whole lot in there. We had a little bit of escape as it was doing its thing. I'm just going to wrap this a couple more times. We've taken care of all of the leaf litter and everything that came out the inside of the cabinet. Not taking any chances there. And I'm cleaning the vacuum parts with some Dawny dish soap. And the same for the trash can. We're going to let the fogger do its thing and turn our attention to the game board. Here we are over at the sink with the original game board. This is indeed a Pac-Man board, but it's also got the ribbon connector and a daughter board, which is also terribly filthy. And what I did was popped this particular ROM chip off and popped it in my chip programmer, dumped the ROM and checked it. And this is a bootleg Ms. Pac-Man daughter board. So it's interesting, this came out of a Pac-Man cab and is actually a bootleg Ms. Pac-Man. So what we're going to do is just clean all of this off, the usual Dawny dish soap method, clean it all up, do some testing on some critical components to make sure that there's no reason why we shouldn't try and power this board up and see if it works. Here we are having cleaned up our daughter board, desocketed everything, cleaned up all of the legs, pins, everything like that. So we're looking pretty good. I had to sand down the legs a little bit on both sides of these proms because they were filthy dirty, so I wanted to make sure we were going to get a good contact when we dump these ROMs. Now I believe we've already dumped this one. This is a 2764, but we're going to do it again. So we've got our GQ 4x4 all connected up. We are going to change the device type to a 2764. We're going to pop it in, clamp it down, and we're going to read it out. We're going to check the buffer. Well, it looks like we got a complete dump, so we're going to just save that as check one. And then what we're going to do is use this here website, multi-arcade ROM identification tool, to compare the checksum of the file that we just created to the main database, essentially, is what it's doing. So if we dump that in there, there we go. This is the one that we dumped before. So this says it's a Ms. Pac-Man bootleg set 2. And this is ROM file A, essentially. So 2764A.A. So let's check the other two and pop that back there. This is the same ROM type, so we don't need to mess with the device. We'll just read it straight out. Okay, check the buffer. Buffer looks full. So we'll save that out as check 2. We'll grab that file and drop it on the ROM identifier. And that has no match, which is interesting. I wonder what that is. Okay, so I'm going to just reseat it, dump it one more time, and we're going to compare the checksum. So this is 000B1102. So if I read it out again, okay, B1102, same checksum as before, so that hasn't changed. So let's have a look at EPROM number 3. Pop that in there, clamp that down, read that out. Oh, all right. This EPROM is blank. That seems unusual and unlikely to just have an empty chip on here. Okay, so we might be dealing with a corrupt ROM here. It looks like we've got a good dump here. Corrupt ROM here, empty ROM here. So let's go to the game board itself and check out the chips on that and see what we've got. Here we are with one of the mask ROMs from the game board. This is a very delicate little flower. These legs are blackened and a couple of them are literally about to fall off. So I've got to be ever so careful with handling this, and I don't know what I'm going to do about putting this back in the board. But this is from position 6J, and I've got to do a little something funky to get this to read out properly. I did a little bit of searching around the interwebs and found that the 9332, which is what these are, is the equivalent of a 2532, which is compatible with the GQ 4x4. But when I use that device type to dump this ROM, a 2532, I only get half of the contents. So I did a little bit of searching around on Google, found a very helpful thread on the KLOV forum. Somebody has created a new custom device that obviously experienced the same issue with trying to dump this kind of mask ROM type. So I have followed their guidance and created a custom device. Now, in order to create this custom device, basically you go to the default path for the GQ USB programmer. There is a text file in there called custom devices. You open that text file up. You basically dump in this line item here and save that and close it. If you've got your software open, close it, reopen it. And then what you will find is in your devices, when you do a search for 2532, there is a new entry, which correlates to the name that you've created there. So 25329332 Bravo. And we can add that to our favorites and we can load that device. And we can dump our chip very carefully so that we don't break its little legs off into our reader and read that out. Check the buffer. Okay, that looks better. So we've got an entire dump. We've got a complete dump from nose to tail. So let's save that out. I'm going to call that mask 1. Save that to our desktop, go back to our ROM identification website, dump that in there. All right, and that tells us that this is one of a few potential ROMs. Now what's interesting here is that this is potentially a bootleg chip, which I don't think it is because this is marked up as an original Midway chip. So I'm wondering if this is actually part of a kit that was bought and then they hacked on the bootleg board. I don't know. This is it's kind of an interesting combo that we're dealing with here. I'm not quite sure what this is. So I went searching around the interwebs again to see if I could find the ROM set for Ms. Pac-Man Bootleg Set 2, which is what our daughter board EPROM was suggesting was the game that we're dealing with here. So I downloaded the standalone set, which has all of the programmable chips in there as a main ROM set. And here's the 2764 that we dumped earlier. We have an A, a B, and a C, which I'm guessing are those 3 chips on the daughter board that we looked at. So we should be able to compare B to our dump and figure out how close it is, and if we've just got some corruption there. And then C, well, I think that's the blank EPROM, which is clearly supposed to have something on it. Now I can check that by loading up that binary file into the GQ 4x4 software, just by opening that. Go to the desktop, we've got the ROM folder. Let's go all files, and I'm looking for our Charlie. Let's open that up. All default selected. It's a binary file, normal, normal, and no offset. Thank you. Data size exceeded size of device. Well, of course it did, because I'm looking at the wrong darn device. I need to load 2764. And then what I should be able to do is open that file. That's it, the Charlie file. And that will be loaded into the buffer. And yep, we've definitely got data in there. Looks like it's about 3/4 full. What does this say? General Computer Corporation, hello Nakamura. This hidden message, General Computer Corporation, hello Nakamura, is a famous Easter egg embedded in this here ROM. Ms. Pac-Man was developed by General Computer Corporation, or GCC, not Namco, as an unauthorized enhancement kit for Pac-Man, originally titled Crazy Otto, that had a very different design for the Ms. Pac and Ghosty sprites. We will also see the Otto reference again here in the code a little later on. Well, this particular message was placed by GCC developers to honor Masaya Nakamura, the founder of Namco. It was later used as evidence in legal disputes between GCC and Atari, as GCC was already in trouble with Atari over their missile command conversion kit titled Super Missile Attack. After the legal issues with Atari were resolved, GCC pitched Crazy Otto to Midway, Namco's US distributor, who transformed it into an official sequel, with some input from Mr. Nakamura, giving birth to the Ms. Pac-Man we know and love today. So yeah, it's definitely supposed to have some data in it, and ours does not. I've just disconnected my GQ 4x4 momentarily so that I can open 2 instances of this software. On the left, I've opened the verified good ROM dump of this chip here, which I believe should be 2764 Bravo. And I've opened up the dump that we took from our chip here on the right-hand side, and I'm just comparing these two to see if I can figure out what's going on. I've scrolled right down to the bottom of the buffer here, and as you'll pick out on the left, you've got some English words that you can pick out there. Additional, Midway, Killer, Pinky, Inky, Pac, Junior, all of that good stuff right there. And then when you look at that same section, that same address range, and look for that same text, you don't quite get it. It looks to be in the same sort of format or structure, but the characters look a little bit messed up. So down here on line 1E50, you can clearly see Ottoman. And on our dump, it's close, but it's not the same. So I believe what we're dealing with here with this particular EPROM is some corruption. This chip's good, this chip is corrupt, and this chip is blank. So what I'm going to do now is take what I believe should be Bravo and Charlie from the Set 2 bootleg Ms. Pac-Man ROM set. We're going to erase both of those in our UV eraser for 20 minutes because my eraser is not all that good. We're going to throw those in there for 20 minutes. We'll verify they're blank, and then we will program these back up again with those known good ROM dumps. Well, both Bravo and Charlie erased, or so I thought. I've reprogrammed Bravo and verified that it's stuck, so this is a good verified chip. This one, however, will not program. This is a dead EPROM. So that will explain why this one off the bat was showing as blank. So I guess what I'm going to do is throw this away and just put this to one side for the time being. Because again, what I really want to do is get Pac-Man back up and running. So I'm going to source a set of the 6 ROMs that would essentially convert that Miss Pac back into an original Pac-Man. We're just going to put this to one side for now and concentrate on getting those ROMs switched out. We are back with the cabinet. This is turning into a little bit more of a challenge. So the work that I did with the wrapping it outside, out the back of the house, was on Saturday. It's now Tuesday. And between then and now, we've had 2.5 inches of snow Sunday night into Monday morning with this sat outside. And today we've had torrential rain. I really didn't want to pull this in the house until I'd had a chance to go over it a little bit more and figure out what the deal is with the whole termite situation. And you know, water will find a way. Here's the problem that I've got. It was sat outside in the snow and the wet, and we've now got what could be water damage in the bottom. This has gone a little bit soft. I'm hoping that it will dry out okay. And we might be able to put some wood hardener on that and save it, but I'm now dealing with an infestation and water damage. It's gotten in there. So I ended up bug bombing this thing 3 times. Twice on Saturday, once on Sunday, in the hopes that that was going to kill anything if it was in there. I have seen no evidence of this being a live infestation at this point, but I am not taking any chances. So what I'm trying to do here is I've sliced its belly open, and it was good to see that when I sliced its belly open, some of that fogger came out still. So it was still held in there. So I had a pretty good seal with this plastic wrap. So that's good. So it's been 3 times bug bombed, sat for, well, since Saturday and today is Tuesday. But I'm not resting there. What we are going to do is foam it. Professional advice is that these foggers don't work if the creatures are down in their holes and in the core of the wood, which I've not got any way of telling that whatsoever. But what I can tell you is I carefully destroyed the little mud channel that was in this corner here and looked for any signs of eggs or evidence of termites, and I didn't find any. So I don't know if they managed to get inside the ply. I don't know if there's anything hibernating in there right now. I doubt it. I've been doing enough work on this thing that I would have expected something to wriggle out and make itself known by now. But again, I don't really want to take any chances with that. So I am going to use this here actual, verified, advertised termite killing foam. And with this thing laid on its side, with the majority of the damage being in these side panels, I'm going to give this thing a massive foaming, and hopefully that foam is going to seep down into these holes and get to the little critters if indeed they're still in there. So let's have a go at that. Okay, so here's the damage we've done. Glove on, termite killing foam in hand. We've given it a jolly good foaming in all the nooks and crannies on the inside here, just reaching in and squirting it around. I can't get behind the board there, so I'm gonna have to punch a hole over the other side there where the coin door was and reach in on that side. I will have gotten everything on this side and some of the structural stuff too. I've given a bit of a squirt. So let's get that coin door section opened up through there and get to squirting. And on the bottom here, safety first as always, I put some specs on in case of splashback, and I looked for any holes that were in the base, any nooks or crannies or anything like that, and I shoved the tube in there and I filled it up. So for example, those two, let's give those another blast. That one up there too. Gotcha. And what's interesting if we look up in here at the top is that there doesn't really appear to have been any activity where this cabinet has been painted. If I can kind of shove you in there, there's really no evidence in here on any of the painted surfaces. So that's a good thing, I suppose, but yeah, just kind of interesting. I'm interested to know what that is right there. That looks like the back end of a critter poking out that hole. Let's investigate. So interestingly, that was the back end of something that I was looking at there, and I kind of dug it out. There was some dead organic matter that came out of there, and I kind of opened up the hole a little bit where I pulled that from, and it doesn't go particularly deep. I'm not finding any evidence that this has gone really deep into the cabinet, so I'm kind of happy about that. Right, flipped her over onto her other side. I did it by myself, and there was a little bit of damage in the process, which I think we can still fix if we can salvage this cabinet at all. So done the same thing again, foamed it all out. I've actually run out of foam. I had 2 cans and I've used them both. So I'm gonna have to run out to my local hardware store and just grab another one to finish the job. I didn't quite get everything in here. Yep, there's some to go in there. Didn't quite get all of that. And I need to blast inside the coin box area as well, because there's evidence in there. So I need to make sure that I've coated that nicely. Well, I guess we'll run out to the hardware store, come back and finish the job. See this little guy walking along here on my garage floor? That's a tick. And that tick came out of my flipping cabinet. Literally. As I was just giving this thing a wipe down with some purple power, just seeing how it would clean up, I noticed it crawl out of a hole. So even after everything I've done with this, the bug bombs, the whole lot, this little guy has somehow managed to survive. So on that basis, I am going to strip everything out of this cabinet and I'm going to nuke it. I am giving up. If there is anything else that is semi-alive in here, then it's got a chance of resurfacing, because quite frankly, I thought I'd done enough here to save this poor thing, but clearly I haven't. So first of all, let me take care of our unwanted guest who's having a little tour of the garage, and then I'm going to strip this out and I'm going to take it outside down to the fire pit, and I can't set fire to it yet, but at some point I will. Rest in peace, Pac-Man. Well, here we are with our monitor from our Pac-Man. I've not cleaned this up at all. We're just going to give this a quick check and see if it works. This is a Wells Gardner 19K4626. I just had to pop the power connector off real quick. It had this one on there, and I've got no sort of adapter to connect it up to my portable isolation transformer, so I just used my trusty pin removal tool and popped the existing connector off, borrowed one from another chassis, popped it on there. We're all connected, power, ground, on a little ground lug around the corner there. Our TPG is all connected up. I'm not particularly familiar with this monitor, but the video connections are on this daughter board right here. And I had to look this up because the pins are just numbered. And pin 1 is red through the rest of the colors. And then positive sync is underneath. It does actually have a couple pins here for negative sync, but we are using positive sync as connected up on our TPG right there. I'm going to power this thing up. I'm going to go ahead and close the blinds in anticipation of this thing actually getting power, just in case we can see an image on the screen there. So I'll go ahead and do that, and then we'll come back and we'll flick that little switch right there. So here we are with both our isolation transformer and the chassis of the monitor in view, just in case something exciting happens when we flick this switch on. So we'll go ahead and do that in 3, 2, 1. Oh! There was a little bit of HV going on there. Got any neck glow? Not that I can see. Let's flick on. Let's have a little look and see if we've got any raster going on here. Not that I can see. Let's turn the TPG on. Yep, we got something. Let's dial that in and see if we can't get a stable image. Well, the answer is no. This is kind of the best I could get it as it currently stands, fiddling around with some of the pots on the back. It's promising. I think we could maybe get this fixed up fairly easily. For now, I'm just going to do a little bit of research on this particular model, get hold of the troubleshooting flow chart and see if there's any clues in there. But otherwise, I'm just going to put this to one side for now and chalk this up to another potentially free CRT from our Pac-Man cabinet. Well, Pac-Man will not have died in vain. We've managed to salvage some pretty cool stuff. Here's the game board. I checked out those other ROMs, relabeled everything because the labels were disintegrated and destroyed. I actually ran out of orange tape, so I redid these all the same color because I had to. But that's our daughter board. That's all fixed up. Filter board, which we don't really need, but we've got it anyway. Unfortunately, I do not have a way of testing this board at the moment. Pac-Man is a bespoke pinout. It's not jammer. I can't just throw it in my jammer cab. I'm still working on retrofitting an original harness and everything to my Ms. Pac-Man. So when that's finished, I will be able to test this board. I can't do it right now, but it will feature in a future video. I kept these as a little memento. So this is the little metal panel on the back there. The inspection record, some paperwork. I thought was quite a cool memento. Obviously got the control panel there, which in a Pac-Man has wood behind it. We had to strip all of that off and destroy that because it had signs of termites as well. Pulled the joystick out with its entire harness, buttons, connector, which I am going to use on this Ms. Pac-Man panel that I bought from Corder Arcade, because it turns out, I didn't realise this, that is not a Ms. Pac-Man joystick in there. Somebody has jammed some kind of aftermarket nonsense in there, made some additional holes. That's going to need patched up, but that's for another day. I even managed to save the leg leveler brackets, which need tidying up and cleaning off and whatnot, but I thought I'd save those since we were at it. And obviously I saved the coin door, which is happily sat in my Ms. Pac-Man, which there's another video coming up on Ms. Pac-Man real soon, part 2 of our resto deconversion. But yeah, we got some cool stuff. Thank you to the sacrifice of our Pac-Man cabinet. And I'm teasing you actually, there has been no sacrifice. I did not have to burn the Pac-Man cab in the end, I'm very pleased to say, because a very fine, very brave, very awesome gent called Taylor, aka Dillweed, decided that he would take on that cab and turn it into the Glob, which is based on a Pac-Man cab. So he's busy sanding everything back, taking care of anything else residual, tidying up some of the water damage and all that good stuff. He's a very brave, very awesome, very dedicated guy who did not want to see that cab go to waste. So this is basically the stuff that I kept. Taylor's taken the main wiring harness, all of the power gubbins, transformer, all of that stuff from down in the bottom of the cabinet for his The Glob project, which is very cool. Well, that's it for this video, folks. I'm glad it ended up with a happy ending. I was fearful that Pac-Man was going to meet a fiery death there. We've gotten some cool bits and pieces from the Pac-Man cab, which are going to be very useful for other projects. Even if we didn't manage to restore this particular Pac-Man to its former glory, I know the cab and some of the other bits has gone to a really good home. Dillweed's going to do a fantastic job of turning that into The Glob. So I'm looking forward to getting to play that at some point in the near future. Thank you very much for watching this video. I hope you've enjoyed it. If you have, give it the old thumbs up, leave us a comment, share it with somebody that you think might enjoy it also. And if you haven't already done so, please subscribe to the channel. We've got some cool stuff coming up. Follow some of the links down in the description. I've got some useful info there, as well as some links to some of the other videos that I mentioned in this particular production. And until next time, love you, bye.